Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Kevin O'Malley. I have been studying horse racing for the last 22 years. It's my passion, it's what I love to do. You might know me, you might not. You probably don't. But I've worked on radio and TV and things in the past, but now I kind of do my own thing on YouTube and TikTok and run my own premium horse racing service. Today what we're here for is to preview the Dublin Racing Festival. This will be my first look at most of the races. One or two of the races I have already looked at in the anti-post markets, etc. But the aim here is to go through the races, go through my initial shortlisting process, my initial look at these horses, kind of get rid of the horses, some of the horses that I don't think can win, and talk about some of the horses that I think are going to be in contention. So if you think this content is going to be for you, please tune in, please listen, and enjoy, and please give the video a thumbs up, a share, and also subscribe to the channel. That'd be great. So let's get into it. So the Dublin Racing Festival is spread across 2 days at Leopardstown, 15 races. I should imagine I'll have an opinion in most of these races, if not all of them. Obviously some will be stronger than others. As a general rule, I don't really like bumper races. I don't tend to bet in them, but I can at least go through some of the figures and help to break down the field a little bit. Let's just start off on Saturday and just get right into this. With a 2 mile 6, Nathaniel Lacey and Partners Solicitors Novices Hurdle, Grade 1 race. Now, last time out at Limerick, Final Demand, the choice, it seems, of Paul Townend, and is the kind of 7-4 generally market leader. One or two others going 11-8. He was quite impressive at Limerick. Ran to an RPR of 134, backed it up with a top speed figure of 91. That in isolation is nice work, but it's not anything that you would be overly intimidated by based on that performance alone. Went off at odds on, didn't beat much, and just did what he had to do. Now, he's open to any amount of improvement. I wasn't particularly enamoured by his style of jumping either, but he looked like he had a basic aptitude there, but he was just a little bit awkward at his hurdles, so I wonder now, will he slicken up a little bit? But yeah, no, he stays. He's clearly got a little bit of quality, and this price just suggests to me that they're expecting a lot of improvement. But will it come? We don't really know. For me, the horse that sets the standard here is Super Sunday. Ridden by Patrick Mullins, it's fine. You'd rather have Paul Townend on board, a top professional rider, but Paddy Mullins knows how to ride. Ran to an RPR of 137 last time out behind the yellow clay. Stayed on quite well in the closing stages. Jumping was a little bit sticky, but the ground was horrible. Stayed on quite nicely. Clocked a good speed figure in defeat as well. I'm slightly concerned about the hood and the tongue tie for the first time, but if it works, great. If it sharpens up his jumping, great. It's also, there's quite a big field of 12 horses here. But he did win a 14 runner maiden hurdle by 10 lengths, so the size of the field shouldn't really bother him too much, and he's obviously been to Cheltenham and stuff like that, so he's quite an experienced horse, Super Sunday, at this point. And I think on paper he's got the best form in the book, but obviously then you're looking at the jockey bookings and it tells a different kind of a story. But I would be suggesting that Final Demand is not necessarily the strongest looking favourite of the couple of days. If he goes and improves and he wins, fair enough, but I do think he needs to improve. Super Sunday for me is a big danger. Sounds victorious, you look at his latest couple of RPRs, 118, that top speed figure there of 23, and this top speed figure here, 59, even going back to 100. And down here, that's probably his best work when he was fourth in the bumper, but based on what he's actually done over hurdles, he's got no chance whatsoever in a grade 1 race. So I couldn't see him improving up to the mark. If he does, fair enough, but on paper and what I can see here, this horse has got no chance. Jasmine DeVoe, his jumping was poor last time out. His jumping was actually poor when he won this maiden hurdle at Navan, and we took him on in the maiden. We took him on in that race in the main line. My premium racing service, we took him on. We had a nice winner with the yellow clay. He's wearing cheek pieces for the first time, I presume, to try and sharpen up his jumping and sharpen up his act a little bit. He is a talented horse, but I can't see him being good enough to win this race, and I wouldn't have him on my mind to get into the top 3, so I take him out. Mozzie's sister, a mare, she obviously gets £7 from the boys. She stays well. She stays a little bit further than this. Again, hasn't done a great deal on the clock here. Her maiden hurdle and her bumpers proved here that she is capable. She's capable of running quite fast times. So I'd say that she's a little bit of a threat for the top three. She's obviously very consistent. She's not a mare I know a great deal about, but I'm going to leave her in the shortlist, but just because I respect what she's done down here. You can never discount an informed mare either. I'm not saying she's going to win, but she'd be in the conversation to finish in the top 3 or 4 or 5. I'm Lorenzo, good looking horse. Beating a short head last time out, could have won that race here at Leopardstown. The ground will suit him. Is still a maiden, so coming into a Grade 1 as a maiden. If he had won that race, which he arguably could have, he wouldn't be a maiden. So it's kind of a funny one. I respect Gavin Cromwell. I respect this horse as well. Really top rider, Keith Donoghue in the saddle. So I'm Lorenzo, certainly in the conversation for a top 4 finish as well. Has some couple of decent speed figures here as well. So you have to respect that work. Pray Tell, Desmond Keneally, £5 superior to the aforementioned I'm Lorenzo, though I think the other one has got a little bit more runway for improvement. Has won 3 out of his last 4 starts. Look, you have to respect what this horse has done, but he's a 9-year-old. He hasn't progressed as quickly as you would like away from these 4 runs to suggest that he's going to get up into the 140s as he would need to here. Seems like more of a kind of a summer-autumn type of horse. And I would take him out on that basis, just wouldn't really be for me. Waffling a bit now on this race, and we need to start getting through it. But there are some nice horses here, and that's kind of the thing. I wouldn't say Semeski is going to be good enough. Sporting Glory, a couple of decent runs. If he was to take another spike in improvement, he could get into the mix, but probably not. Wingmen, not bad. He was beaten behind Super Sunday the last day, so he needs to improve. Joystick won't be good enough. World of Fortunes won't be good enough. And Wingmen, I could see Wingmen being in the conversation for a top 6 finish. So those 2 at the top of the market kind of stand out. And then these are the ones that I'd be looking at as potential outsiders. But yeah, that's the way I'd be looking at that 115. Let's just keep it moving. Obviously, I'll be making final decisions for the main line for my members. Closer to the time, I'll be posting selections this evening, and there will be selections, and I have made some decisions already. A couple of big prices, a couple of shorter prices, but we will certainly be betting. Perhaps not in this race though, but let's just get into it. St. Lucie, I thought she was pretty good. I'm not going to linger on this race too much. She looked good at Punchestown. She stretched away nicely from her field late in the day. She's done quite well. But just this top speed figure of 69, they didn't go a great pace, which is fine, but she does need to raise her game. Now she needs to produce it. She gets £7 obviously from the boys, which will help her. But just Hello Neighbour, I think, has done a little bit more. 125.97 on the clock. Just a little bit more he's done, Hello Neighbour. The fact that he's wearing a hood for the first time, again, just a little bit of concern, He was quite dogged and determined and didn't do a great deal wrong at Leopardstown here last time out, so I don't know why they're putting a hood on this horse. I'm not the biggest fan of that piece of headgear, but it is what it is. Lady Vega Allen, a little bit of an unknown quantity, beaten a short head by Hello Neighbour in that race. She gets the £7 allowance as well and could improve. Sonny Bill, another Willie Mullins horse, another one that could just improve. You just don't know how much improvement these horses have got in them. Bacchanalian, I quite like this horse at Fairy House last time out. He did it quite nicely. Clocked a good speed figure before that at Limerick in a maiden hurdle when he was beaten half a length by Out for a Stroll. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was in the mix. And the rest of these just don't look up to scratch at all. So Wendrock, Willie Duell, more of a Fred Winter horse, I think. He'd be looking for a mark. So that's kind of it, really. It's a case of how good is this mare here, this filly here. Does she improve? If she doesn't, then Hello Neighbour or Lady Vega are probably going to dominate. It wouldn't surprise me massively if one of these got into the top 3. But I wouldn't trust either of them enough, and I don't like either of them enough to back them each way with these top 3 there. Looking so kind of solid as a nice unit. Overall, this doesn't look the best punting race. If it was my last fiver, I might just stick it on Hello Neighbour. But, there's no secrets there. He's 2-1, 15-8, 7-4. There's no secrets there in the market. Let's keep it moving. 225. This handicap hurdle, 26 runners, 3 miles. I've already taken off a few, I think, including a couple of these JP McManus chasers, like Meeting of the Waters. Fair enough, this horse has gone off a mark of 112 over hurdles, you know, but it's one win from 10 starts over hurdles. Do you really want to be backing a horse that's only won once in 10 starts over hurdles and is essentially a chaser and a fairly exposed chaser at this point? Similar can be said of Percival Legalwa for Gavin Cromwell. I didn't like any of those. Iceberg Theory as well. I can't remember why I took him off. It could be on stamina grounds. And Back Me or Sack Me. Yeah, just another one. We're going off 128. I didn't think that one was particularly well handicapped. I find Emmett Mullen's horses quite difficult to get a handle on. Mordor as well. Very consistent horse, but I think he's a little bit out of his depth here. So I've already removed a few of those. King Alexander. Yeah, it hasn't done a great deal on the clock in his last couple of starts, but if you go back here, has a couple of decent runs to his name. Flicker of Hope. Yeah, I don't think that one's particularly well handicapped. This race is tremendously difficult. Glenkiln is a nice horse. You just wonder, would he be better over fences and if he'll stay. If he does stay, he's got a little bit of an each-way chance. Patter Merchant, he'd have a little bit of an each-way chance, stepping up in trip. James Smith claiming £5, going off a market, but he does need another one that does need to improve. I would suggest leaving this race well alone. It's interesting that Henry Daly brings over Supreme Gift off top weight. But then again, you know, in these races you do get 5 places. You've got Sky Bet there offering 7 places each way. So you can have a couple of horses on your side, and if they get into the top 5 or 6 or 7 even, you can make yourself a nice tidy profit. Supreme Gift comes out quite nicely on the speed figures. King Alexander comes out quite nicely on the figures, as does Glenkiln. So just a few horses there worthy of mention. Donny DeVito, not seen since October. Ross O'Sullivan, an interesting stable. Donny DeVito, he's another one worthy of mention, but going off a mark of 127 with his RPRs in the kind of lower 120s, he's another one that will definitely need to improve, but is interesting nonetheless. Let's keep it moving. The Arkle, right. The ground is yielding at Leopardstown. I love Il Atlantique. He was a mainline selection, part of a double that we did on the main line last time out. He was very, very impressive that day, beating Firefox. Can he beat Majbra on much better ground? That's the question. I don't know if I'm willing to pay to find out, to be honest. If there was a deluge of rain and we were guaranteed really soft ground, like genuinely proper soft ground, I would back Il Atlantique to win this race. Without even thinking about it, even though he's given £2 to Majbra. But the fact that the ground is kind of gone against him now, and he's 11-4, there's no kind of secrets in the market. And I just think Majbra, with 2 years younger than Il Atlantique, on nicer ground, you know, he won at Fairyhouse very nicely on nice ground last time out. Yeah, I just think he might be difficult to beat. That said, I do think Il Atlantique has got the best form in the book, and if he does handle the ground, he's still a big threat, Il Atlantique. But as things stand, it's more of a watching brief at 11-4. If he was to start drifting out to kind of 4-1, you might think, oh, that's a bit big. But other than that, Majbra will be hard to beat. Firefox is just kind of one of those nearly horses. Can he really step up to the mark and trouble the front two? I would have my question marks about that. Touch Me Not ran an absolute cracker at Sandown last time out behind Le de Sud. Didn't jump a single fence very particularly well. Just a really good looking horse though. And if he can learn to jump, he'd be a big threat. No doubt about it. He'd be a threat. 10-1, 2 places. Just about right with those kind of jumping frailties in mind, and the fact that he does need to improve also in mind. Genoa Lepan won at 150-1 at Leopardstown last time out. Clocked a decent speed figure. Looks a fine big stamp of a horse. Probably going to be out of his depth here. That's just the reality of the situation. It's difficult to see him troubling any of these. Here comes Georgie. He was a mainline selection last time out, a 1 point win mainline selection, one of the best selections probably the best selection I've had of the jump season so far. And yeah, I think he's just completely out of his depth here. All right. So I would say that Il Antique has the best form in the book and is the biggest threat to Majbra. It's just a case of if he handles the ground. The Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup here. Galopin Des Champs is just a phenomenal horse. He really, really is. I'm struggling to see how Factophile can bridge the gap with him. I don't think he will. I think if Galopin Des Champs jumps around, he's just going to win this and win comfortably. I don't think Monty Star is up to the task. This RPR here of 150 and 153 and 156 and all this stuff. Look at what Galopin Des Champs is doing. 181, 183, 178, 184. He's just in a different stratosphere to all of these horses. You could suggest that Embassy Gardens, if he continues to improve, is not bad each way value at 12 to 1 with this kind of work in the locker. That's a really nice performance there at Tremor and heavy ground. You could say that going further down the list here, the likes of Conflated at 100 to 1, I Am Maximus at 50 to 1. It wouldn't surprise me if one or both of those got into the top 3 or 4 behind Galopin Des Champs, because there's just not a great deal here, to be honest. Maybe Factophile will take a massive step up and really prove himself to be a Gold Cup contender here, but I can't personally see it. So for me, this is just the Galopin Des Champs show. 2 mile 1 listed handicap chase, 14 runners. Midnight It Is was very impressive at Navan 2 starts back. He was beaten last time out at Fairyhouse, but showed a marginal improvement on the RPRs on the form book, and he's still relatively well handicapped with a £5 claimer on board here. So at 4 to 1, I can see why he is where he is, and he is the horse they all have to beat. Each way against, you'd be looking at the likes of Captain's Nephew and Don't Go Yet. I did actually look at this race earlier, and it's interesting. I don't think it's a punting race per se, because there's quite a few here that have very similar kind of profiles, and you're kind of trying to wedge yourself into an each way position against the favourite, or just back the favourite and hope that he can get back to something like his Navan form, where he stayed on really, really powerfully. At Fairyhouse, he didn't finish his race quite as well, but certainly the horse they all have to beat there. And I just mentioned a couple of the each way players at bigger price, Captain's Nephew and Don't Go Yet. Grade 2 bumper here. Undoubtedly, whatever comes out of this will be, high in the betting for the champion bumper at Cheltenham. He Can't Dance was impressive at Navan last time out. Didn't do a massive amount on the clock. If you're going purely on RPRs, then Cocktail Brute and Certudo and Classical Creek, there's not a great deal between all of those, really. It's just a horrible race, this. Sit back and enjoy this race and see what comes out of it. That's all I will say. Right, let's move on to Sunday. The 12:40. Now, this is the first time I've looked at it. Actually, no, I tell a lie. I've already looked at this race. Queen's Gamble. I think they've picked out a nice race here. I told Sam Turner in a group chat that we ran, that we're in. Sam Turner from previously at the Daily Mail and now works for Odds Checker, I think, and whoever, Sporting Life maybe, whoever, but a good old mate of mine. He's involved with the Harry Durham stable, and I said that it looks like you've picked out quite a nice race here for Queen's Gamble. They're saying that if the rain stays away, this is directly from Connections, if the rain stays away, they do fancy her to run a big race here. That's obviously reflected in the betting. She's a 7-2-2 shot. Generally, you can get 4 to 1 there with William Hill with the 5 each way places if you wanted to have a Maggotty each way bet. But yeah, she's a nice mare, and she does need to improve again, because she's carrying top weight here, and that mark of 134 she hasn't actually ran up to on RPRs, but they've always been of the view that she's got a little bit more to give, this mare, and maybe she does. In terms of each ways, Media Naranja was one that I looked at. Cast a Spell was one I looked at. Have to respect Straight Home as well. Cosslot Sunshine as well was another one that I looked at. Let's just spin through these quite quickly now, because I don't want to keep you guys too long. But mentioning kind of the elephant in the room, and then one or two or three kind of potential each way ones against. I think Ballyburn is going to blow this field apart. I don't think Imperial Pass or Champ Kiley are up to his level. Better days ahead. Interesting. I respect these horses. They're nice horses. But I do genuinely feel that Ballyburn is going to blow this lot apart and prove that Sir Gino form to be very, very solid. That's just my opinion. 2 miles 5. Novices Chase, Grade 1. Ballyburn to storm back into the novice pace picture. It's not really a punting race. You could put Ballyburn into your multiples for the day. I think he'll win this and win it impressively. 140, 2 mile novices hurdle. Kopek the board. Bit of a talking horse, this one. Did what he had to do last time out at Leopardstown, clocked a good speed figure. I need to go through this race pretty in a bit more detail later, because it's the kind of race that I do like to have a look at. I just don't know if I'll be having a bet in it yet, because the top of the market here does look very strong. And usually when you want to have a bet in a race like this, an each way bet, I'm quite a heavy each way punter, you want to see a little bit of weakness. So I want to watch how these horses jump and kind of remind myself of what we got here. But looking further down, Blood of Assy, I think he'll probably struggle in this company now, realistically. Redemption Day didn't really do a great deal last time out at Leopardstown, so I'd take him out of the equation. Good and Clever for Warren Greycheck, 20-1. Ran up to a nice level really last time out behind Potter's Charm, but that form has taken a little bit of a knock. Whether or not he can come up to par here is debatable, but you respect him. He's generally progressive. Comes here on the back of some Grade 1 experience at Aintree. Connections have clearly targeted this race. He's 20-1, so he's not a terrible price. So he'd be in the conversation for a top 3 or 4 finish. Carafon won't be good enough. Winnie Hill, quite a nice horse, Winnie Hill. Nice chaser for next season, you'd imagine, but not good enough here. Carniquet, also not good enough. Sea of Sands pulled up last time out behind Romeo Coolio. Went off at 5-1 for that race, which is interesting. This race where he was third in a Grade 2 behind Toonsivator was not a bad bit of form. The fact that he went off at 5-1 behind Romeo Coolio makes him half interest wearing headgear. They're kind of reaching for everything here for connections with this one. He's interesting. I wouldn't back him in a bajillion years, Sea of Sands, but he's just interesting. Just keep an eye on how he runs. Eastern Legend won't be good enough. So that's kind of what you're looking at. Those two are the elephants in the room. Blood of Assy and Good and Clever on the each way scene. And that's kind of that. The 210 race, the 2 miles 1 Dublin Chase, Grade 1. Gaelic Warrior at the top of the market, wearing first time hood and tongue tie. Quite a few Mullins horses are reaching for headgear and tongue ties and stuff this weekend. Gaelic Warrior is another one. I love this horse. I've backed him at 5-1, I think, for the Champion Chase. I hope that he can bounce back here and really stamp his authority on this race. He's capable of it. 1 or 2 things have gone wrong at Leopardstown in the past. I really hope that he can bounce back here and make a little bit of a statement. Last year's Arkle winner, he was a dominant novice over this trip. He's a very, very good horse, very talented horse, a top Grade 1 prospect, and I really hope that he can show that here. Marine Nationale has been a little bit disappointing. I think it has to be said that he has just been a little bit disappointing. If he can come back to form, it's possible that he could cause an upset. El Fabiolo, not seen since April of 2024. He's got an official mark of 174, which kind of stands out like a sore thumb. If he was to come right back to his best, El Fabiolo, he'd be no 8-1 shot. So you have to respect him. Solness, he hasn't done a great deal wrong, Solness, but you just imagine that he's found his level now, and it's hard to see him continuing that upward curve as other horses that are a little bit better than him are improving at this stage of the season. It feels a little bit disrespectful considering he beat Gaelic Warrior quite comfortably the last time out, but I'm just going to remove him from the equation. Quilixios as well, beaten 8 lengths by John Bond last time. Respectable horse, but probably won't be good enough. Captain Guinness, I love him to bits. He was a mainline selection when he won the Champion Chase last time out, but he hasn't been shown anything recently. And this 2 miles 1 trip is just beyond him. He's a 2 miler, and 1 mile 7 ideally on better ground, so he's not going to get anywhere near here. Gentleman de May, nah, I couldn't imagine him getting into the equation either. And Sanisha's got no chance whatsoever. So, yeah, you know, you are looking at the top 3 in the market here. Gaelic Warrior, Marine Nationale, El Fabiolo. That's really where you're at. And it's a case of, do you want to back Gaelic Warrior in your multiples or whatever, or would you like to have a little each way play on one of these two? I haven't made up my mind yet. I may well have a play in this race though, but we'll see. 245, handicap chase grade 3. I'm not going to dwell on these races too much. I would say James de Burley is a big player in that race. James de Burley, big player. Pinkerton. Let's see. What else we got here? 2 miles 5. Dancing on My Own. Could run a big race. He's an 11-year-old now, but he's handicapped to run a big race. James de Burley, Dancing on My Own. Let's go down a little bit further, see what else is here. This one here, Monbeg Park as well, could run well. Monbeg Park. And I always have a little bit of respect for Pinkerton. So Pinkerton, Monbeg Park, James de Burley and Dancing on My Own would be the short list there for that big handicap chase. A field of 17 down to a field of 4 in just a few seconds. That's experience for you. Cracking race here in prospect. Lossiemouth versus State Man. You know, I think Lossiemouth will win this race. When I went back and watched her at Kempton last time out, she did everything wrong. Yet she only finished 2 lengths behind Constitution Hill. But more than that, when you see the camera pan onto her after the line, she was just only warming up. She had loads of energy left, and that for me bodes well. You know, I just think she's a top horse. The fact that Paul Townend sticks with State Man is very interesting. You know, he must be seeing something at home that makes him, because he's ridden State Man on all of his starts and Lossiemouth. The fact that he's chosen State Man does make this very interesting. Put simply, it's a match between the two of them. You couldn't back either of them at their current prices, and you know, I love Lossiemouth. I'm kind of in her camp. I'd love to see her develop and continue to improve and become a real contender for the Champion Hurdle. But if State Man bounces back to his best, brilliant, because State Man at his best is a brilliant hurdler. There's no doubt about that. But he was just so poor last time. Perhaps a return to better ground. You know, just perhaps whatever, you know, they've gone through, got under his bonnet at home since Christmas, and he'll turn out to be a better horse here. But he really needs to be, because Lossiemouth, I think, is going to be bang on it here. And yeah, cracking racing prospects. My battery's running low, and I have my power source outside, so that's kind of why I'm getting through these quite quickly now. Let's just go very quickly. Stormheart not seen since last May. Oh, these races are horrible. These races are horrible. St James's Gate was pretty good last time out, wasn't he? Okay, I'm taking a pass on that race. That race is horrible. Handicap hurdle. Good luck with that one if you're having a play. I did say most of the 15 races. And as for this bumper, again, look, all these speed figures are pretty average. On RPRs, Future Prospect, you know, in the John Magnier colours kind of jumps out off the page quite a lot. Churchfield Sunset, nice experienced horse for Emmett Mullins, could be of interest each way. And that's just about it really for the Dublin Racing Festival. I hope you can take some value from that video. Certainly had a little bit of fun just spinning through those. Certainly a few horses that I'll be backing were mentioned in this video and will be made privy to my mainline members. If you're interested in anything that I do outside of this, and go to turnafoot.com. Yes, turnafoot.com, and read about the main line, read about the light channel as well, and let me know any comments in the comment section as well about what you fancy for the Dublin Racing Festival. I'll catch you soon.